I recently spoke to a man who lost $300,000 in his divorce. And it wasn't for the reasons that you think. It wasn't because he got screwed by the courts. It wasn't because he got screwed by his ex wife. It was because his emotions were so dysregulated that he let his business go under. He had been making multiple six figures every year for several years, running this incredibly successful company. And in the wake of his divorce, he was so overwhelmed. He was so distressed, so depressed. He just couldn't focus at work. He couldn't deal with his employees. He couldn't deal with his customers. He couldn't handle just the day to day of running a business. So he let the company go. He ended up taking a job for about $60,000 a year and just working. And I spoke to this man about 5 years after his divorce was over. And he was like, wow, Rachel, looking back, I had no idea how how much I was at the mercy of my emotions. He's like, I knew the divorce was hard. I knew I wasn't doing well. He's like, but I really thought I was rational. I really thought I was logical. And I was like, yeah, it just is hard, right? Divorce is hard. And he's not wrong. Divorce is hard. But the challenge that he faced and that so many men in particular face is that he really believed that he was operating out of logic and reason when he was actually operating from emotion. And this is a really common mistake that I see a lot of the men I work with making. And it's not their fault. It's just because men have been, for the most part, conditioned since you were young children to be really stoic emotionally, to not let any weakness show, to not show your anger, to not show your grief, to definitely not show your fear or your pain. And so men get so good at hiding all of these emotions that they end up even hiding them from themselves. And this is why, if you're a man, have you ever been in an argument with your wife or your ex-wife and she's like, oh my gosh, stop yelling. And you're like, I'm not yelling. Right? This happens so often because you don't notice that your voice got louder. You don't notice the change in your body language or your tone. And I work with a lot of men who are like, look, like my kids don't seem really comfortable around me, or my wife accuses me of being angry all the time when I'm not. And a lot of times it's because those emotions are coming out through your body language and your tone of voice, but you don't even know because you've gotten so good. Right? You were told since you were a little boy to be tough, to man up, not to cry, to be strong, and that you had to be all of those things, especially if you wanted to have a relationship, if you wanted a woman to want you. So you get so good at doing that you don't even realize when you're having a big emotion. And that's what happened to this man. He was like, yeah, divorce sucks and it's hard. And he's like, but he didn't even really notice how the emotions were overwhelming him until his company was gone, right? Until his multiple six-figure income stream was gone. And for him, it wasn't until several years later that he finally did learn how to regulate his nervous system, how to recognize his emotions and work with them effectively, that he looked back and he was like, holy smokes. Like my nervous system was off the charts dysregulated. Like I was in fight, flight, freeze that whole time. And I didn't even know. Like I thought I was still in my logical, rational brain. Right. And so he lost so much from the divorce, but it wasn't from the legal system and it wasn't even from his ex-wife. It was from his own disconnection with his emotional well-being. And so many men suffer losses this way, financial losses, because they have been so conditioned and they have learned the lesson so well that their emotions don't matter. And implied in that lesson is the idea that you have the ability to control your emotions logically. And it just isn't true. Right? I hate this too, you guys. It's hard for me to believe too. We don't like to think that the emotional brain is stronger than the logical brain, but it is. It's older. It's more primal. And it is there for our safety. Fight or flight is so that we take action to protect ourselves. And I mean, think about it. If I touch a hot stove, I better pull my hand away right away. I better not wait and think about it. And if there's a lion about to eat me, I don't want to think about whether it's going to stop charging and be friendly or not. I need to be reacting right now if I want to save my life. Okay? And that's what emotions are for. They are created on a survival basis. And so they're stronger. They're built in to overpower our logical brain so that we don't die. Right? But the problem is when we're taught, like men are taught, that you're supposed to be stronger than your emotions. Your logical brain is supposed to be able to control how you feel. which just nobody can. We can learn to work with our emotions. We can learn to be better leaders of our emotions, but we can't just control them or suppress them outright. But men are taught that they're supposed to be able to, and they convince themselves that they can. And then I see so many men going through divorce and not getting help for the mental and emotional piece. Right? If you're going through a divorce, have you hired a lawyer? Most of you probably have. If you haven't, it's probably on your to-do list. Right? Why do you hire a lawyer to help you through your divorce? Well, you hire a lawyer because one, you don't know the legal system and how it all works. And two, you know that if you mess up, there's going to be really big consequences. Right? But most men don't even realize that they need help understanding the emotional system. They think they have it figured out. They think they just have to be stronger. They just have to control what they feel. They have to be tougher. They have to man up more. And there's endless content here on YouTube that will support that idea. You just have to be a better alpha male. But it just isn't true. Emotions don't work that way. And so the reason I wanted to make this quick video, I was thinking of the conversation I had with this man today. And his story is just such a clear example. When you don't know that you need help with your emotional system, how it can just take over and really mess up your life for years. Looking back, he said it probably cost me $1 million having my nervous system dysregulated, because it took me that long to get back. And then I had to start from scratch, right? Then he had to start over, build a whole new company back up to that level. Right? And all of that because he was emotionally dysregulated, and he knew he didn't feel good, but he didn't make it a priority, right? He hired a top lawyer for his divorce case, but he didn't go to therapy. He didn't get coaching. He didn't join a program. He didn't learn about the nervous system or emotional regulation because he had no idea how important it was. And this is the trap I see so many men falling into after divorce, and they get stuck there for a long time. Hopefully for most of you, the consequences aren't as severe as they were for this man who lost 300 grand and figures it cost him over $1 million to learn this lesson that he needed to learn how to work with his emotions. But I hope it's a cautionary tale, because one of the biggest challenges in my work is helping my clients and the men who reach out to me for support recognize that this is something that matters, right? That it has an impact, that there are consequences to being dysregulated and to not knowing how to work with your emotional system. So if you're here with me today and you would like to know more about how to work with an emotional system and what the heck I'm even talking about, take the next step with me. If you type change into the comments of this video, I will send you a training that's going to teach you the top strategy I use with all of my clients. It's going to show you how to work with emotions so that they can't hijack your brain, cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars, or stop you from living your life for years at a time. So comment change in the video comments below. I'll send you that training and we'll go through the step-by-step of how do you actually get, I'm going to use the word control, but it's not exactly, how do you become a leader of your emotional brain instead of trying to control or just suppress it into submission, because that strategy is never going to work even when you think it's working. All right, guys, thanks for being with me. I'll see you in the next video.